Well, I'm almost fatigued from all of the football we've had over the last week. It's been a lot, and so we've got a lot to get into. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from three friends who support different clubs. My name is James. I support Arsenal. That's Brad. He supports Chelsea. And down below is Sean. He supports Tottenham Hotspurs. Gentlemen, hello. Good evening. What's going on?
I escaped the closet again.
Oh, here's your back and the closet's closed.
Back.
That's some meta, joke we got going on here, isn't it?
Yeah. Long time listeners will understand, or short time listeners. I think it was only a few weeks ago.
It's closed. See.
Yeah, I'm worried about what Sean's got in there now, but we won't get into that. We won't get into that.
You could see that there's it's still Christmas. Christmas is going in and overflowing. So Christmas is coming down.
Are you getting Valentine's out as you put Christmas away and getting all your Valentine's Day stuff? Because I'll tell you this, I went to the grocery store on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Do you know what the candy aisle already had? It was pink.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I was just shaking my head.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. Before we really dig too deep in here, if you are new here, if this is the first time you're tuning in, first off, thank you. Welcome. Please come. Hit that subscribe button. Ring the sub notification bell. All those things really do help us out. If you're on one of the podcast sites and you've stumbled across us, ring the sub, hit the sub button, follow button, whatever it is on your platform. Leave a 5-star review if you're on Apple Podcast or your platform provides a rating system. All those things really help us increase our reach. We are growing this podcast and we would love it to reach new people. So tell your friends about it. Watch it, send the link to someone, share the podcast, give the gift of podcast with someone in your circle this week. That would make our week. We'd be so happy and so very pleased if you could do that for us. But as I alluded to earlier, we had 2 full match days of football in England. We had the weekend, and we are in the midst. As we are recording this, there is still one game yet to be played in this midweek lineup before we kick over to the FA Cup coming up at the weekend. So we're going to dig into all 20 of those games. Well, not specifically all 20, but you'll see what we'll do. As always. But before we dig too deep, let me pull up the league table, just so everyone's on the same, the same. What's the word I'm looking for?
Page.
So we're on the same page. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
We also have the same table.
Yes, my words are failing me. All right, so in first, we've got Arsenal. They are on 44 points, having played 17 games. Manchester City are in second. They have 36 points, only 16 games played, so they have a game in hand. That is the 20th game that needs to be played out of the 20 that we talked about. That's going to happen tomorrow for us, today for you guys. Newcastle are in third. Manchester United are up to fourth. Tottenham slip to fifth. They are only 2 points behind United, but United have played one less than them. So Liverpool are in sixth. They've got quite a cushion between them and Spurs of 5 points. So things are looking pretty good for Spurs in that regard. Fulham are in seventh. Brighton and Hove Albion are up to eighth. Brentford are in ninth, and Chelsea round out our top 10. Chelsea in 10th. It's a weird place for Chelsea to be on January 4th as we're recording this. Though, of course, this season is weird because we've only played 16 games so far. Second half of the table looks like Villa, Palace, Leicester, Leeds United are in 14th. Nottingham Forest up to 15th. Bournemouth are in 16th. West Ham United 17th. Everton are in 18th. They fall into the relegation zone. Wolves are in 19th and Southampton are in 20th. Now, what's somewhat interesting about that, Everton, Wolves, Southampton, all teams that have been in the Premier League for years. Everton, the second longest serving team in the Premier League, but Wolves and Southampton have been in the league for years now at this point.
Are they the longest, or am I mistaken?
You're very mistaken.
Okay, I may be. I think we had this discussion last time.
If
If it will correct you every time if that gives you any hint.
Yes. So, Brad, you know how you like to bring up statistics and factoids of randomly? Yeah. You're just like, hey, Sean, James, do you know that on December 6th in 2012, John Terry scored a free kick from 12 yards out? And then today, and you're like, it's written in the stars. All those random factoids that you read from the Chelsea Reddit. I just know that Arsenal is the longest serving team in the Premier League.
Oh, okay.
But so that's what the league table looks like. Should we get
relegation update? Only one selected Everton.
Not me.
It was me.
Well, I think only one selected Southampton.
No, I take that back. Brad also selected Everton.
Oh,
I'm trying to read them all three at once, but cannot find a way to hold them in my hand in a way that I can read all of them.
It's like we're not sitting at computers and can't digitize them.
So yeah, that'd be weird. I'll just read them really quick. Brad went Everton, Bournemouth, Fulham. Sean went Everton, Leeds, Bournemouth. And James, the most wrongest of wrong. I just wanted to throw that part in there. Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth.
We all have one team.
I'm going to be wrong about
selected. Fulham. Yeah, the two that selected Fulham. Dum-dums.
Okay.
I told you guys Mitrovic was going to be Mitrovic, and I told y'all.
Hey, who picked Southampton? Where's Southampton?
That's true.
Only one of us picked Southampton, okay? So.
I got Everton, yeah. I got Leeds and Bournemouth are down there. I got a chance to go. I got a chance to go 3 for 3, but there's another Bournemouth out here too. You just got Brad, but actually everybody picked Bournemouth, so we're all almost right.
Yeah.
Well, you're the only one, Sean, that could go 3 for 3.
Realistically, because I don't think Fulham's getting down there.
Fulham would have to fall off of a cliff.
And absolutely, I don't know. They're at 28. Don't you normally consider 30 clean? You're good.
40.
Generally,
is it 40 locked? 30 is pretty good.
40 is locked. 30 is like, okay, we feel really good about this.
And so they're already at 28.
28 through 18 games played. So
they should be good.
If they get relegated, that would be spectacular to see who had the most like what the greatest fall from grace is. I'm sure BBC or Sky have some statistic out there, but we don't because we're only Red Card Radio. Let's take these
now
games.
Hiring an intern for stats for the stats department.
We can't pay you.
It's an internship.
It's 100% an internship.
With no actual credibility, so you can't actually put it on your resume.
No, I'll give you a reference. Hell yeah,
we'll give you a reference. That is all I got, buddy.
I am fantastic on phone calls. I'll have everyone know. So if you need a reference, hit your boy up, and I get you squared away. All right, let's get back to football. All right, so we're gonna do this in sets of 10. So we're gonna do we're gonna do the weekend, talk about the weekend, and then we'll go to midweek. Okay, so match week 18. We had started off Friday last. West Ham hosting Brentford. Brentford win the London Derby 2-0. Liverpool hosting Leicester. 2-1 winners are Liverpool. Wolves United. United get the 1-0 victory Saturday morning. Bournemouth Palace. Palace win 2-0. Fulham Southampton. Fulham win 2-1. City Everton. City and Everton play to a 1-1 draw. Arsenal fans around the country celebrated. Newcastle and Leeds. That game ended 0-0, also a draw, so Arsenal fans around the league celebrated once again. And then Brighton played Arsenal at Brighton Stadium. Arsenal win 4-2, so pick up some points on the teams closest to them. Sunday morning, we had Spurs and Villa. Villa win 2-0. That's kind of not good. And then Forest Chelsea. Forest draw Chelsea 1-1. That's really good for Forest. So yeah, that was, as an Arsenal fan, that was maybe the best set of weekend results there could have been, right?
Yeah.
Everybody dropped points except for Liverpool,
and United, but they're nowhere near you anyways.
You texted right after with my comment that I say every week. You texted the comment that I'm gonna say, which is they can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah,
they keep doing it.
I feel like that comment should be directed to you, Sean.
Well, our little run of going down 2 goals and somehow rescuing points.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen on the weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
So where do we want to start? Should we start with Arsenal? Should we start with Spurs?
You can start with Spurs. I got a couple of little factoids about it.
Yeah, let's break them down for me.
Well, I had to come with factoids because loyal listeners have not watched it yet. I did plan to, but I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Had a long, exhausting week last week, and me and the girl just drank a wink. If you haven't gone to Aldi and gotten Winking Owl, it's about it's a Cabernet, about $3.50 a bottle. You can get a a 4 liter for like $12. For like $12, little box one. And we just were like, you know what? We don't feel like partying, going out, hosting, nothing. We're just gonna sit on the couch, watch TV, and drink wine.
Cab Sav
So-
or Cab Blanc?
Cab Sat. So
Okay.
we were not getting up for that game. And by getting up, I don't care if it was a noon kick. Probably still were not.
It was what was like no, I think that was like a 9:30 start probably.
Yeah, I think it was a morning game. But just seemed from what I have gleaned from it, because I haven't watched the full 90 yet, that we just got off to that sluggish start and then never really never really got back on track. But
I watched a good portion of it, but the problem is I've watched a lot of football between now and then, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
The game was unremarkable.
Yes.
My takeaway was kind of that, was that Spurs looked sluggish. My main takeaway from the match was this could be bad for Spurs if they don't get a result against Palace, which we'll get to in a moment. If they don't beat, when I say get a result, I mean if they don't beat Palace, then they will have started, their first 2 matches back from break, draw, loss, maybe a draw for being, loss or draw, like that. If you look at that, like that's season derailing at that point in terms of like what their ambitions are. And so I was like, this could be bad. And then you think about like, is this just a sluggish start for them? Like, is it their, how Manchester United started the season really poorly and now they're playing very well? Is it just that, is this their moment in the middle of the season where they're going to go on a streak where they're not playing well? They just didn't look interested. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word.
the goals came in the second half. So
And, right. So they didn't get their halftime like kick in the ass for being down 2-0 or being down 1-0 to go out there and kill it in the second half.
I don't know.
They just kind of they floated through that game.
It seems
they
to me
had
that
like 1 or 2
Conte-
chances, but they just floated through that game.
It seems to me that if you're Conte and your team is drawing Villa 0-0 at halftime, you're digging into them, right?
at home.
Yeah, you're not letting them get away with that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, but we see that this team, like Tottenham, only cares if they go down.
Well, funny you mentioned that. It is Spurs have conceded the first goal of each of their last 7 Premier League matches. It's the first time they've done that since 2010. And also on the same vein, Spurs have conceded at least twice in 7 consecutive league matches for the first time since 1988,
wow.
in which they did 8 consecutive games of conceding at least 2.
And it's 10 games overall, like 10 games overall of going down first.
Yeah.
So
that's, and I think it was after the game, Conte had those, I think, mistranslated, misconstrued, misintended comment about, talking about how, Spurs, I want what's best for Spurs. I'm here for the project, but maybe what's best for Spurs is third or fifth or sixth or something. Like it was a really strange comment. And I think you interpreted that, Sean, that you heard that and you're like, oh yeah, Conte's leaving at the end of the year.
Well, he's been making comments like that more and more recently where I just see those quotes and I'm like, he's letting Europe know that I will be available come June. So keep the door open.
It's not full Conte meltdown, but it's like the prep just in case like nothing happens in January. Then in February we'll point to these and be like, no. Remember he said this here.
Yeah.
He's prepping for that.
I don't get that feel. I'm a big homer for Conte for some reason. I defend him. I appreciate him.
I think all 3 of us are pro Conte and like Conte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just would like to see him backed, and unfortunately, as a fan, I know that's probably not going to happen. But they've done it so far.
All right. So
They've done it so far.
Do you not think he's been backed?
So far, they have. They have.
Okay.
He had the short summer, got what he thought he needed from what we could tell, and then had a good little run to analyze what needs to change. And if we go into January, clearly we need to address the right wing back. Clearly, from what I can see, from what I'm privy to knowledge of, it looks like we're about to be addressing that in some way. Whether it's Dumfries, which seems to be just a Dutch Emerson Royal, or whether it's Hakimi.
It's not
which
going
is
to be
probably
Hakimi.
which is not going to happen.
Can't be Hakimi.
Come on, let a man dream.
Yeah, dream. Hakimi's coming.
January's so difficult. It's so difficult to sign people.
It is, and the other reason Hakimi's not coming is we're both in the Champions League knockout. He would be cup tied. He would not be allowed to play for us in the Champions League, and that is not something I'm sure. That's not something I'm sure he's interested in doing.
I don't know if those rosters, because the rosters reset after each round.
I think,
and since the next round is March, I think you should be good.
I think if Spurs were in the Europa League, he'd be okay. This is at least the way it's been in the past, that if he hasn't played in that competition yet this year, then they can play it. But since PSG has played in the Champions League and Spurs have played in the Champions League, my understanding is that he'd be cup tied.
Maybe. I don't know the specific rules.
That's where I thought that the term came from, is that he's played in the Champions League and this season for PSG already, so he is cup tied to PSG.
Okay.
It's more FA Cup, EFL Cup.
No. What Sean's describing is a thing.
Right.
It's been a thing in the past. UEFA have updated the rules recently. I don't know specifically if I'm not sure exactly what the current iteration of the rules are, but you're not incorrect, Sean. So,
and then last little tidbit to tie a bow on the game is each of Aston Villa's last 4 victories against the Spurs in the Premier League have come at the Spurs, have come away from home.
Wow. At the White Hart Lanes. Not
good. Yes, and I'm glad you pluralized it, because it would probably be both at that point, right?
Yeah.
We haven't been in this. Actually,
how long
be in their home? Shoot, I don't know. Maybe we have been in 4 years now.
Maybe it also Wembley. Might also be Wembley. Yes.
Yeah, we played at the Olympic Stadium.
What are the rules on January signings? This is from UEFA.com. The UEFA Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, knockout hopefuls are allowed to register a maximum of 3 new eligible players during the winter. Since 2018-2019, it no longer matters whether those players have already played in the competition for another club.
Okay.
Even for another club still in the competition.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, so to my point, you said from the
all right, Hakimi.
You said from the 18-19 season, right, Brad? That's what you said.
Going forward,
yeah.
Yes.
So my point was only that was a rule in the past. I didn't know if or when it changed, and also I haven't cared. The Champions League's been a Mickey Mouse competition for the last 5 years, so
Still is, I hear.
Still is. All right. We'll get back to Spurs. We're gonna get back to Spurs. Arsenal. I thought we played exceptionally well away to Brighton. Scored in the second minute of the game. I thought we controlled the match very well. We let them back into the game a little bit. But overall, very pleased with the result. Brighton away is a difficult place to play. It's not easy. And so going there in, I guess it was still December at that point, getting a result, or maybe, it was the last game of the year, I think.
I'm just cooking up a joke. I was just thinking, if you don't get charged up to play at the Amex, it's a pretty taxing environment, You might pay the ultimate price.
I wonder what the membership fees are. All right. Those are all of our American Express jokes all lined out there for you.
We'll swipe on to the next game.
Yeah. Brad, why are Nottingham Forest the most difficult team to play? And why is Serge Aurier coming out saying we should have won the game?
Because the second half, look dreadful. So here's what happened. Actually, Sean, you said it last week with Kovacic. You said Kovacic will kick whatever there is in front of him. Like we missed an enforcer, somebody to get to push back when Nottingham Forest was just creating chaos. Their goal was a chaotic goal, but also our goal was a deflection. So was a deflected cross off the post right to Sterling's foot and into the back of the net. Like it was both goals were crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Jorginho in the middle and Zachariah isn't that same type of enforcer that Kovacic is.
So this is my question for you.
Yeah,
we had a text, you and I, earlier today, and we were talking about Enzo Fernandez. The deal seeming like it's not happening, right? That Chelsea are not going to meet Benfica's valuation of 120 million euros, which makes a lot of sense. That's an absurd sum of money for Enzo Fernandez. And you were like, no, it doesn't matter. We're going to get Murdoch, and he's going to be a better fit for us. And I'm like, I think one of Chelsea's biggest deficiencies is their midfield. I also think you guys are deficient in front of goal. But
I think I don't disagree. I think our midfield is old.
Yeah.
I think it's time for a refresh. I do not disagree with you is what I'm saying. I think one of Jorginho or Conte need to leave this season, and then the next one needs to leave the season after that.
It seems to me that it sounds like they're lining Conte up for an extension.
It seems like Conte has agreed to the terms of the new deal, where Jorginho is a lot further away. Apparently, Newcastle might, if the Enzo deal was going through, Newcastle was interested in Jorginho
in January. Why would anyone be interested in Jorginho?
I mean, he's a good
he's the best penalty kick taker in the world. Remember?
Well, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Remember we did that. We did those stats. Remember?
We had a full science Excel sheet.
Jimmy,
breaking this down.
We need Jimmy to run the numbers again. Jimmy, get the calculator out.
Check my math on that. He's a good holding midfielder, not defensive midfielder, but like a possession based midfielder. I don't know. Clears our books. But I have a question for this week's games. Who gets fired first? David Moyes or Frank Lampard?
Well, it's got to be Frank. It's got to be Frank Lampard.
I've been on the Moyes train for a while.
I don't know. I think it might be the Moyes. Like the amount of investments in the West Ham squad compared to the Everton squad are vastly different.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who's in the relegation zone?
They're on the same points. It's one goal difference.
Okay. So if the season ended today, who would go down?
Everton. But still, I think, but Everton's expectations for this year were to stay up. What were West Ham's expectations for this year?
Also not being met.
Yes, thank you.
But their expectations were Europe, not fighting relegation.
I don't know.
Everton was stay up, stay out of relegation.
I think the answer can be both.
Yeah, I'm not sure that West Ham walked into this season and said Europe. With the number of teams that...
Why not?
Because there's this little team called Newcastle who just got a boatload of money, and from January of 2022 through the end of last season, we're on a tear. Picked up like the third most points in the division, and then from August at the start of this season to now, they're in third. So like, I think that you have to look at the fact that if you think that there's the big six, right? You think there's the big six, and then you throw Everton into the mix, or Newcastle into the mix. That's 7 teams right there. That's all of your European spots. So if you're West Ham, I don't think that you're looking at that saying, "Oh, we have a legit shot at Europa League." I think you're saying we need to be realistic about this. Top 10 would be nice. So, and I think Everton was probably thinking similar, survival, 15th to 10th. Maybe they're thinking a little bit lower in the table, but I don't know.
West Ham was semi-finalists in the Europa League last year. They were coming in off of a hot year too.
I just think
and then they spent money.
These are expectations. These are expectations of a good measured front office person, not an Everton blue from Liverpool.
Yeah.
Like you're not looking at it from the fan perspective of this is bullshit, mate. We've been up for
No.
the first
Oh, no,
division
I'm
for
with you.
like
I'm
the
with you.
fans have got to be furious.
Yes, but also like management has to be upset that like they went and they bought another striker. They bought Paqueta.
Yes, West Ham has spent a lot of money, like Samaka, like they've got a lot of investment recently. I'm not begrudging that, or I'm not trying to say that they haven't been. But Everton have also spent a lot of money over the last 3 or 4 years. So both of these teams, neither one of these teams can afford to go down. Like let's.
Oh yeah, well Everton can't afford to go down because they got a stadium to build.
I have the luxury on this front of actually knowing a knowledgeable Everton fan. It's not passed down from a parent or anything. He is a self-inflicted Everton fan that watches as much as he can. Going into the season, his goal was to not get relegated.
Okay.
Also going into the season, he was like, "What are we doing? Not selling Anthony Edwards? No, Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony. We know you're talking about the striker.
And yeah, whatever his name is. Not selling him to Chelsea or Spurs for 50 million. What were we doing?
Mikel Antonio.
No, I'm talking about Everton.
Oh, sorry.
The guy, the kid that you
bad. I got the wrong one. Yeah.
Anthony, is it Anthony Rogers?
No.
I don't.
None of
Anthony
us
something.
is.
Anthony Gordon.
Hold on, I'm in there.
Anthony Gordon.
That's him.
Yeah. He was like, "What are we doing? Not taking that $50 million and getting like two midfielders? Like, what are we doing? Trying not to stay up?" It's like we're making moves like we're still in the top 10. It's ridiculous. We're gonna get relegated.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's his jaded Everton fan perspective.
You guys are both David Moyes is getting sacked before Lampard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm historically wrong about who's getting sacked next. So
I think we all are because of the betting sites and conspiracy and collusion. But
true. So
neither here nor there.
Is it going to be Thomas Frank at Brentford? All right.
Could be.
Let's move on to the second set of games. So those kicked off on Monday. So Brentford beat Liverpool 3-1. Arsenal and Newcastle, they played yesterday. That game ended in a 0-0 draw. Joel, you're gonna have to defend your men because we got we got to talk about that. Everton Brighton beat Everton 4-1. Leicester Fulham win 1-0. Bournemouth win United win 3-0. Southampton Forest, that game ends 1-0 to Forest. Leeds West Ham ends 2-2. Villa Wolves ends 1-1. And then Crystal Palace Spurs. Did Spurs get back on the right track? They sure did. They win 4-0. Harry Kane gets a brace. Apparently he's only 10 goals away from passing the next person on the list or something, or 3 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's short. Some short, frumpy dude who came up with Everton, played for United for a couple years. So
he looks kind of like a troll.
Yeah, went bald by 27. Yeah,
I forget what his name is. And then the game yet to be played for this set of midweek fixtures is a doozy. It's a big 6 matchup. We've got Chelsea hosting Manchester City. Everybody's rooting for Chelsea to get a result here. Let's go Blues. Come on, Blues. Up the Chels, is that correct? Up the Chels, is that what we say?
Up the Chels.
That's such a stupid such a stupid phrase. Anyway, I digress. We'll talk about that Chelsea City game here in a moment. We have to talk about Brentford and Liverpool. So Liverpool were kind of they beat Leicester. So at the weekend, they're on the nice run of form. I think they had won 4 of their last 5 going into the Brentford game. Brentford just beat the socks off them. They just worked harder, scored good goals, ran further, just worked harder, and get the result. They win 3-1.
I think that was Tony's last game too, right? No, Tony even playing it.
No, Tony did not play in it. He was injured.
Oh, yeah.
Tony got injured against whoever they played last, West Ham, I think. Tony didn't play. They didn't even need Tony. So Zach and I had this conversation in the comments 2 weeks ago about he was saying, we should put some money on Brentford to go down. And my only point was that I don't think Brentford's game falls apart without Tony there. And obviously it didn't, because they handled Liverpool.
Yeah, very
I
well.
should I should have saved it to archive it to pull it out here, but there was a graphic showing the last 6 years of sprint speeds,
Oh,
overall running,
saw that.
and another metric on Liverpool, and all of it is that way over the last 6 years.
You mean
Where,
that way?
It's going
well,
down.
whichever,
Fighting.
going down, no matter
Yeah.
what. Yeah, like a song, like it's going down.
For real.
Yeah, it's going down for real. But that is damning because that was one of their major calling cards. Is they just the outworking, the out pressing, the out doing everything, out countering, out. We're just going to work harder than you, and there's nothing you can do about it because you're not going to be able to, because we're going to work harder, and that you can't fix that. You can't outskill hard work.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been their issue, is that like they've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's just
Now they're run down and
yeah.
they're just tired.
And to every Liverpool supporter's point out there, they haven't signed a midfielder since Thiago. They haven't signed like they keep signing attacking players, but they don't sign midfielders. And like in all honesty, like where the most work gets put in, where the most running is important is in the midfield, because they're the ones that are protecting your defense. I heard. What's up, Brad?
They did pick up. Well, he's been hurt the whole time, but they did have Arthur Mello was a signing.
Arthur Mello is a human. That's true.
He's a human, and he does play for Liverpool
football.
FC.
He is registered at Liverpool. That is true. Thank you for bringing that up, Brad.
You're welcome. You said they hadn't signed a midfielder since Thiago, and where that's not technically wrong. They have one on loan. He just hasn't played yet.
That's
true.
Just want to be statistically accurate.
Yes, legally, all of the lawyers out there rejoice, Brad. Speaking of that, Sean, I saw a funny tweet that said, it's funny because every season we're like, oh, the Prem 4 top 4 race will be very competitive. And every year it's just a bunch of teams that should be incredible, fighting tooth and nail to not be fraudulent every week. So we got all these teams that are just, it's always like a clown fiesta trying to go from like usually there's like one or two teams that are really good, and then there's like 4 teams that are trying desperately not to finish in the Champions League spots. They're just like, oh yeah, we want to be there, but we're also shit week in, week out, like for no apparent reason. So
I watch it every week. Well, not every week, but
I've been watching it for the last 5 years. So not this year, but for the last 5 years before this year, it's not fun.
You guys are statistically not going down this year. We can say that.
So yes, that's true. I pulled up 538 before the Newcastle game, and I know you're big into 538.
I haven't looked at it in a little bit here.
They still had City as the favorites to win the league, even before the Newcastle result. So this is a Newcastle game. Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. If you look at it, if you watch the game, I think as an Arsenal supporter, you're frustrated. I think if you watch it as a Newcastle supporter, you're fairly pleased. Newcastle at a certain point decided they didn't want to win anymore. They just didn't want to lose. For a good portion of the game, it was a very competitive back and forth game. Newcastle were creating a lot. They were very progressive. They were attacking. Of course, they were more reserved in their attacks. They weren't like going, balls to the wall like Arsenal were. But they were just like, we want to win this game. But then at a certain point in the second half, it was just like, I don't know if it was Arsenal's pressure or Newcastle just made the decision that like, okay, we need to preserve what we have here. But Arsenal, I think, were, maybe Joel will push back on me on this here, but I think Arsenal were thoroughly dominant in the game, but Newcastle were incredibly well marshaled in defense. There's a reason why Newcastle are the least scored upon team this season. They've only conceded 11 goals. They are exceptionally well organized. Like their defense is insanely good. And so I think Arsenal were a little bit unhappy with a particular shirt tug in the penalty box against Gabriel, which was on replay looks ridiculously bad. And you wonder,
is a foul?
Yeah, I mean, it probably is. But at the same time, throughout the course of throughout the course of the year, you're going to get some of those. You're not going to get some of those. So I'm not upset at all about the no call on the handball in the 95th minute. Like, I know a lot of Arsenal people and Arteta and the team really wanted a handball against Newcastle. That one was never a handball against Newcastle in the 95th minute. The shirt pull against Gabriel middle of the second half was very bad, especially when you think about the fact that I think two Arsenal players, at least Nketiah and Odegaard, I think specifically, were both booked in the first half for very, very soft shirt pulls in the middle of the park. So when you compare those two things, it's like, okay, what's going on here? I'm not upset about the result. I think I'm disappointed we didn't get all 3 points. I think we deserved 3 points in that match. So that's disappointing. And this is the first time we haven't won at home this year. So like, that's obviously upsetting. This is the first game we haven't scored in the league this year. But obviously still very pleased about where we are on the table. When City beat Chelsea tomorrow, we'll have a 5-point lead in the league. So we're essentially just giving back the margin that City gave to us at the weekend. So I don't know. We're still 5 points clear when City win tomorrow. So I'm not hating on it.
Did you just mention that that's the first time that you have failed to win on at the Emirates since last year?
I believe it's the first time in this season that we have failed to win at the Emirates.
It goes farther back. First fail win on home soil in the Premier League for the first time in 11 games since a 2-1 defeat to Brighton back in April. So it goes a little bit further than that.
I was at Brad's house watching that game.
Yeah.
And then the other quick little nuggets on that are Newcastle are now unbeaten as a top flight team in 15 games all competition. First time since 95. And Arsenal registered their 29th Premier League clean sheet against Newcastle, which is the joint most shutouts by any team against a single opponent in the history of the competition, which would be, here goes your cherry on top, Man United against Tottenham.
Oh, really?
That's why I thought to include that one, because I thought you'd like it.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's good. Palace Spurs. So, Sean, you were very doom and gloom about this game coming in. Rightfully so. Crystal Palace are the bane of Spurs' existence at their stadium.
It is by far our hardest London derby.
What's the name of that stadium? I can't remember the name of the stadium right now. The Crystal Palace.
Now I'm blanking on it. Selhurst. Yeah.
Selhurst.
God,
I didn't have to look, and I didn't even look for that.
Thank you, Brad.
It is by far our hardest London derby. That is without it's unequivocal.
Well, Patrick Vieira they rolled over for you, man. What's going on?
I think they just got caned.
They did.
Yeah, I think we just decided.
I also goals and assists is what Kane had, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was able to pay a little bit more attention to this, and I noticed for the second straight time that Gil's been playing, which I thought should happen more.
I agree.
After giving his spells, and he appears to be acclimated pretty well, and so far in learning Conte as a manager, you don't get spells unless you earn it. It seems like you have to show him something in training to get on the field at all, even as a sub. It seems
like you have.
To be fair, Kulusevski's injured, Bentancur is injured, so like there are
Moira's injured.
But still, he would find a way to not play. Yeah. He would find an academy player to play before he played Gil if he wasn't proving himself.
That's true. Yes,
because that's how Conte is.
Yeah.
He hasn't played Spence either.
That's exactly my point. He will find a way. We will rock Emerson Royal to the Champions League final if we had to, if it meant not playing Spence until Spence proves it on the training ground. But no, when he's able to get on before the break, he showed promise, and I thought the entire time, why don't you play him more? Give him a 30-minute spell. Start him for a match. Play him anywhere.
Yeah.
or play him in any game. It doesn't matter. And he's finally been getting some run. He got his first assist today, so shout out to him. And it was just really good to see. He seems like he's trying to work Basuma back in, but I think that was Basuma off a knock after he wasn't on the French national team. I don't think so.
No.
So he got the whole time to rest. He was knocked up before the break.
Yeah.
So it's good to see. Good to see.
No, he picked up it's yellow cards.
Oh, he wasn't playing today. He wasn't playing today because of yellow cards. That's right. Because I made the Skip comment of why is Skip playing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just good. Just good.
So, rounding out this match week, we've got Chelsea City. Brad, how confident are you going to this match? I will tell you that last week you were not here. So Sean and I were talking about it when we talked about this game. I said that I was worried that Graham Potter would try and overthink this game. Sean disagreed with me. How do you feel about this game? Are you confident that Graham Potter can come up with a game plan to defeat City?
Do I think we have the ability to win this game? Yes.
Okay, that's
do
good.
I think we do? No. But like in my head coming out of January, hold on. I didn't say lose the game. In my head coming out of January, I was like, if we get through these first 3 games and we have 7 points, like I'm happy. So the draw hurts more than it should because that means 5 points now becomes my expectation. If we still end up at 7 points, then I'm hugely excited. Then yes, let's go. This is the start that we need.
Does the City Everton draw last on the weekend? Does that change your expectation?
No. Why would it?
Yeah, I don't.
Because they drew home to Everton.
I'm not going to say we lose, but I'm also not going to say that we win. I think a draw.
Okay.
And I'm yes. I think that's the most likely. I'm pulling for a win. Hold on. Pause. I am pulling for a win. I think the most likely outcome is a draw.
I mean, you guys desperately need to beat City. So let me break this. Let me look at this.
Because if we beat City, we jump to 7th.
Yes, but you'll be 28 points. Same number of games played as United. You'll be at 28 points. They're at 35 points. That's 7-point gap between you and 4th.
Correct. And we'd be equal to Liverpool at 7th.
That's so. Well, also you'd be tied for 7th if you only win by 1 goal. Anyway,
right.
It doesn't So if you guys lose this game, through 17 games played, you'll be 9 points or 10 points off of 4th.
Yep.
That's looking. I mean, you have 20 games left to play, so like there's a lot of football to be played. But it seems like that gap is just starting to get big.
Yep. I think the hope when they brought in Graham Potter was top 4. I think Europe is the expectation, but I think even if we don't get Europe, hey, this is how I wanted to ask this question. I forgot I wanted to ask this question. All right, so we're sitting here next year. It's January 2024. Are Conte and Graham Potter both still managing Tottenham and Chelsea?
No. But that's only because I think that Conte is not going to sign a new contract with Spurs.
I think I agree with that. But I wanted to put that out into the universe to see if anybody else thinks that it would be Graham Potter that's not coaching Chelsea. I think the commitments made to him are past this year. I think as long as it's not like we're not Everton or West Ham, I think there are going to be they're not going to can him this season.
I think it's going to be a tough conversation. It's going to be a tough conversation at the end of the year if you don't make it into at least Europa. If you don't make top 6, there's going to be some tough boardroom conversations between Bole and Graham Potter.
I was saying if we weren't playing City in the FA Cup as well, spoiler for the next episode, for Friday's episode.
Hardware
if we got to like a semifinal or a final as a cup, then yes. But our last chance is the FA Cup. We're playing City again. So,
aren't you guys still in the Champions League?
Oh yeah, And it's written in the stars because last time we were down this low, Tottenham was fighting for fourth.
No.
We took fourth from them. You're right. Written in the stars. Thank you. Written in the stars of the Champions League.
This podcast is finished. I apologize. Loyal listeners, friends of the podcast, I am very sorry that I made that happen.
Reminded me?
So I apologize.
That's written in the stars.
It's written in the mud.
That's
Tottenham in the top 4, and we take the Champions League. I'm here for that future.
I'm about to mute him. All right, so if you're still listening, hit the subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell, drop a comment below. Do you think Conte or Graham Potter or both will still be managing their respective clubs next year? Check back tomorrow. We've got another episode coming for you. We're previewing the FA Cup weekend. FA Cup is back this weekend. I love the Cup. I'm so excited about it. And you'll hear me be even more effusive about how much I love the Cup tomorrow. So check back. You'll want to tune in. That's at KSBradG on Twitter. Down below, that's at Whiteheart_Sean. I am at James Tiffany on Twitter. We collectively are at Redcard_radio. And we'd love to hear from you on social medias or in the comments. Hit us up. Thank